Hey y'all, wait a minute. Oh no, I didn't mean to put the chat on slow motion. Slow motion. There we go. Okay. All right. So I don't know what that is. I guess that's a feature that people have that maybe have like a lot of supporters, and they probably have like 19,000, 20,000 watching the live at one time. That ain't me. That is not me. Okay. We stick with a good 20 at the most. It'd be like 20 people over here watching your girl, but we growing. Happy Thursday, everybody. Hi, Inga. Happy Thursday, everyone. Um, y'all know your girl got a little shing shing, little ring ring, little new schedule. Okay, we got a new schedule. We got new habits, new routines. I don't know how I made it to 9,000 steps yesterday, but I walked 9,000 steps allegedly. Allegedly. I don't know if that's real or not, but that's what the people said on Fitbit. So I know today I haven't even got close to that number. I'm gonna get back on my routine. I've been really just um trying to get used to a change. So, little fun fact about me, I love routines. I love routines. I like a plan. I like to kind of know what I'm doing, how I'm going to do it, and what I can expect from a certain action, a day, things like that. So when there are a change to my routine, it takes me a little while to establish a new routine. And I don't know why that is. I don't know what part of my personality traits have me in that little wavelength, but it is something that I will have to definitely think about and like really schedule something that will be consistent. So I'm trying to learn consistency. I'm trying to understand where I fall and the things of that nature, but to each his own. It takes a little while. So it shouldn't have taken me a month to get here, but here we are. So shout out to everyone watching in the background. Shout out to Inga. She came through and spoke in the chat. And thank you to everyone who has liked the video. Give me 1 second. So today I really wanted to talk to you guys about a topic that I am currently still learning. I was having a conversation with my sister yesterday, and she made a point to let me know that sometimes, Elvira, you have to learn how to say a hard no. And that is something that I struggle with because when you grow up in an environment when you're always trying to be a people pleaser, sometimes you just don't know how to say no. You don't know how to say no and let the no be no. You always have to say no. You always have to say a soft no. Isn't that what it? Yeah, we'll say that. I always strive to try to say a soft no instead of just saying no. And then also too, I battle with my flesh all the time. So there are times where I know the answer is no. I know I shouldn't go there. I know I shouldn't, but I go there and I take it there, not realizing the consequences that come with taking anything and everything there too far. Then I'm left feeling like, oh my gosh, why did I go that far? Why did I do that? Why did I say that? Why did I go there? But the point is that I wanted to share with you guys is that as I continuously learn through life and learn how to master my emotional intelligence, learn how to mirror the things that I actually want in my life and actually learn how to produce those things in real life. Sometimes it gets a little jaded, sometimes it gets a little rigid. I remember having a conversation with someone earlier this week, and I said to them, I'm really serious about my life right now. I'm not second guessing. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not considering anything that is not in alignment with who I am, what I am, and what I value. There are things in life when you are meeting new people, places, and things that are of that match your values, and then there are people who match your preference. What I'm looking for right now is people that are going to be in my life that matches my values, not more so my preference, because my preferences can change day in and day out, but what I value, who I am, and what I represent is not changing. So therefore, I'm in a space where I'm learning how to navigate those emotions with also being keen to my own understanding that I have to be in alignment with self first, not the people around me. So sometimes it is a hard no. Sometimes it is a hard yes. Sometimes a soft no is not strong enough. One thing that I struggle with is I have I haven't really learned the gift of, you know, being stern but not too harsh, being clear but not too blunt, being soft but not too soft where people take advantage of you. That is something that I feel like I probably won't really master until I'm like maybe in my 40s and my 50s, because it takes time, it takes practice, and it takes time. Also knowing that sometimes people test you. People are going to test you. It is in people's human nature to test you. It's not because they want to test you, just because there are some people out there that do that. But for the vast majority of existence, there are people who will test you just because it's in their human nature to do so. I test people unknowingly and sometimes knowingly. We all do it. It's in our natural human existence. I think sometimes people forget that there are some narcissistic traits that we all have. You know, some people are just full-blown narcissists, but we're all a little narcissistic. We're all a little manipulative. We're all a little on one side more than the other, depending on the circumstances. So as I am walking through life, I don't technically point the finger at other people for the choices and the mistakes that I too make, which is why I'm so not really open, but I am transparent on my YouTube channel, sharing with you guys that life is taking me through different roads, and I'm making mistakes along the way, guys. I am making some mistakes, but I'm also making really, really great strides. And today I want to talk about holding the line um, on your what is it, on your worth. But let me find something and clean my glasses with real quick. I should have, and if I ask Legend to get it, he ain't gonna get exactly what I need. So give me a second, guys. I don't like when I'm looking at y'all and it looks so like blurry and distorted. I don't like that. Okay. All right. Oh, that looks so much better. It don't look so blurry. Good morning. I'm doing good. I did. So far, we're having a good week. We're having a good week. So back to the conversation. So I have a couple of talking points that I want to hit on, and then if you all are in the chat and you want to post some things that you want to discuss, we can discuss it. But I have a couple of talking points that I want to make sure I hit, and then if I'll take a pause, talk to you guys in the chat, and then we can come back and talk about some other things related to the topic. But what I wanted to share is that there is a there is a discipline that comes with silence. Hey Tyree, there's a discipline that comes with silence. So it's not a weakness to go quiet. It's not a weakness to sit and be still and just analyze. It's actually maturity. It's something that we can establish as being emotional intelligence. What you are doing when you don't instantly react, when you choose to be silent and not overreact. Because I have certain sensitivities to certain conversations or certain things that people say and do trigger me in a way. I have to be mindful of that and not react to every little thing that triggers me, because not every trigger needs a response. Sometimes triggers need analyzing. I need to analyze why this triggered me and what am I supposed to do with this information. So when you overreact, you're showing, you're devaluing your worth, because you're giving energy to things that don't necessarily need you to do so. Okay, so you want to, sometimes when you overreact or when you act instantly, you feel like you have to do that because you have to stick up for yourself. It's like a defense mechanism. It's something that I do. Like, and sometimes people are not, first of all, like I said, let's go back to what I said in the beginning. All of us have narcissistic traits, okay? It's a part of being a human being. Many of us will not be open enough and honest enough with ourselves to say, you know what? I'm a little selfish sometimes. You know what? Every time a person is speaking, I'm making it about me. Every time someone is having a conversation, I make it about me. Every time I'm doing this, I'm making it about me. When sometimes it's not about you. Sometimes what the person is saying is just what the person is saying, and it's less about you and more about their experience. And if you can't provide to the conversation without bringing up you, then you have a limited way of expressing. Because I do this, and I've had to train myself that when I am having a conversation with someone, it is not necessary for me to, in order for me to be relatable to the conversation, it is not necessary for me to make the conversation about me. Small example. I tell you guys, hey, I bought a dog. Um, I didn't want the dog. I bought the dog for emotional support. I don't want the dog anymore. I gave the dog to my mom. My mom is like, hey, she don't want the dog anymore either. So now we need to find somebody that's going to want the dog. I'm sharing that story with you. You take me back to 1990. You take me back to 2013, and you tell me, yeah, my mama, I had a dog too. And my mama and my daddy bought the dog for me for my birthday. And then I went to college and blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, now we talking about you and your dog when the conversation was never about you and your dog. The conversation was about me, and I was sharing to you about what I'm experiencing right now, and you flipped it, and now we talking about you in 2013 with your dog. And the reason why I share this is because I've had to learn how to kind of silence myself and be quiet and be still and be silent and listen, and not listen to respond about what I want to talk about, but listen to respond about why is this important to this person. So if it was me and someone shared that story with me, and the first thing that would have caught my eye because I'm listening is that this person said to me, I got the dog for emotional support. So now in my silence, by listening, now I'm intrigued. Well, what kind of emotional support did you need? What brought you to purchase a dog for $500 for emotional support? What happened? There's a story there. And if I'm patient enough with the person, they're going to let me in more to share more about that story. Now, when a person dropped that one little nugget within 2 minutes of them speaking, and when they were done, I was so anxious to talk that I didn't even allow myself to kind of go back to that nugget at the beginning to kind of get intrigued with them and say, okay, well, what were you going through? If you don't mind me asking, what were you experiencing to purchase a dog for emotional support? And then there's a story there. So then now I'm waiting to hear more about you. And I'm not being a person that is so anxious to talk that I oh, love you too, sis. Hey. I am so anxious to talk that I'm ignoring. You just shared something really deep with me without giving me the details. You just shared with me that you were in an emotionally burdened place, that you needed some emotional support. So you got a dog. So now I want to know more about that. And that's what makes you relatable to the people around you. That's what makes people trust you more when you're listening. That's when people feel like I can listen. She listens to me. She remembers what I said. And she's not remembering the information to hold it against me. She's remembered the information because she was actively listening to what I had to say. And I don't feel like I'm in a competition with a person having a conversation. And I think that most of our human experiences are based on those type of dynamics in a conversation. Most of us are used to talking to people. I'm not talking about no one. I'm talking about myself. I'm used to talking to people and listening to them and trying to fit myself into the conversation. This isn't about Elvira. This is about them and what they experienced and what they went through. Now I can relate because I too had a dog, right? And I went to college in 2013. So my parents had to keep the dog. But the conversation wasn't about the dog if you really listening. The conversation is about, now I done invested into this and now I don't want it anymore. So now I need to find another place for this dog to go. So that's an example of that's how you can train yourself to have discipline and silence. You train yourself to be disciplined in silence through conversation by talking to people and just being quiet. I think Sister Paulette, Life with Paulette, she shared on her channel that sometimes she just puts herself on mute. So even when she is interrupting, the person on the phone doesn't hear her interrupting. They're going with the flow. They don't hear the interruption. So it's allowing the conversation to flow a little better and the person can just get it all out. Sometimes you have to allow people to kind of get it out, and discipline and silence helps you do that. When you're talking to someone, let them get it out. Now, granted, sometimes people go a little longer than normal. I have done it. Yesterday, I noticed I did this at work. I was at work and I was having a conversation with the individual, and I had talked for 6 minutes straight. I thought I was talking to y'all on YouTube. And when I was done talking, I said, "Oh," I looked at the team's time frame, and I was like, "Oh my God, I just talked for 6 minutes straight." But guess what? She did not interrupt me one time, and she was actively listening, and she made notes, and she came back and she said, "Okay, well, you said this and you said this and you said that," and we addressed those things. And even though I had already answered those questions when I spoke for the full 6 minutes, she was actively listening and she wanted clarification, and she was able to kind of bridge the gap. And when I noticed that, that taught me a valuable lesson. For one, I tell you guys all the time, I deal with policy and procedures. So I'm very good at reading and comprehending what is being said. So with that, sometimes I can get a little beside myself by talking a little too much because I'm used to it. I'm used to doing hour-long trainings with PowerPoints. I'm used to coming on YouTube, talking to y'all for an hour and some change. I've been talking to y'all for 20 minutes and I ain't been quiet yet. So I'm used to just talking, and sometimes I have to exercise that muscle in my brain to shut my lips so I can listen to what someone else is saying and not make it about Elvira. So that's something that I'm learning, and that is something that you can pick and choose what you want. You don't have to use it. I'm just sharing my life experiences. And guys, I come on here, I give y'all personal development content, and this personal development content comes specifically from my life about Elvira. That might be a little narcissistic. I guess it is a little bit, but hey, I learn from the mistakes that I make, and I learn from the choices that I make. If you ever had a friend, I'm the friend that will go off, say something, do something that I ain't supposed to do, and I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna say, you know what? I shouldn't have said that. That was wrong, and I'm sorry. Now you might not rock with me no more after that, but you can at least say, you know what? She owned her stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna own it. So that's one thing about me. I do analyze myself and I correct myself. So that's why I talk about personal development on my channel, because I'm always looking at a situation. If there's any friction in my life, I look at what Elvira did to contribute to that friction, and I work on changing that and being better in that. Next is, not everything deserves a reply. Now, this is very, very potent. But before I get into that, Inga said, I've been working on that too. I noticed it when oh, hold on, I'm sorry. I'm working on that too. I noticed it when I noticed others doing it to me and how it made me feel. Self-reflection. Yes, Inga, that is actually very beautiful and a great observation, because when it is I can relate to that, because when someone does it to me, let's say for instance, like if someone cuts me off, I just stop talking and I let them talk. And sometimes, if the person would have just been quiet a little longer, what you cut me off to say was coming after, if you would have just let me finish talking. And I've noticed that. So when, like you said, when people do it to me, I'm like, okay. So now, before I do it to some, like when I feel like the urge to say something, I get quiet. And then I say, I listen to them and I let them finish. Because usually we're cutting them off to kind of jump to the point, or we're cutting them off because our brain goes there. And typically, if you have a relationship with a person, whether it's a sister, brother, friend, coworker, and you guys are on the same wavelength, more than likely your thought patterns are going to be the same as well. So when your mind goes here and you're sharing the story, sometimes if the person just waits a little bit longer, they will get the answer that they're cutting you off to say. But good reflection. I got to work on that too. Sometimes I just get quiet. People cut me off, I just get quiet and I let them talk. Just because sometimes, for one, I don't have the energy to compete with people in conversation. So sometimes, and another thing too, which I'm going to talk about in this next point, is that I'm not a person who's down with confrontation, because I know my tongue is reckless, and I only been baptized for a year, y'all. I still got a lot of work to do. So I don't like to go back and forth. I don't like to have confrontation, because sometimes my conversation go way left, and now I got to repent because I shouldn't have said that. So good point. Shazmeen, I hope I'm saying that right. She says, sis, all glory to God. You are so intelligent. Love you. I love you too, sis. And I hope all is well with you and where you are. Sal Express. Hey, Sal. How you doing, brother? I hope all is well with you too. Hope all is well with you. You said self-worth and self-confidence is important. Plus, I've been really working on myself, and that's why I've been on and off my main YouTube. And sometimes you need that, Sal. Sometimes you need to retreat. Sometimes you need to take a step back and say, is this really working for me? Is what I'm doing working? Yesterday, once again, Life with Paulette, she made a video and she was like, we need to check in, we need to clock in with God. We need to spend more time with him. When, many of us just go through the motions of spending time with God in the morning, and then next thing you know, you are just flipping through the pages, just reading, just not being intentional with the time that you're spending with the Lord. And sometimes that's not helpful. So sometimes you have to sit and focus and make things kind of work for you in a way. So with that being said, give me 1 second. So sometimes you got to do that. So the next talking point that I have is that not everything deserves a reply. When someone's actions doesn't match or don't match their words, your silence speak louder than confrontation. Then I just say that. Your silence speaks louder than confrontation. Sometimes, and this is me when I'm learning, because and I have to keep saying that because once again I said all of us got narcissistic tendencies. Many people try to fit themselves in someone else's story when you're not the main character. I am. So sometimes people will hear you speaking and immediately they think it's about them, and it's not. And that's why sometimes I have to keep saying this is me sharing my self-reflection about me. You got to keep saying that on YouTube. I'm sorry, you just got to, because like I said, we all got narcissistic tendencies, and sometimes we like to put ourselves in places and in pieces that don't really fit. You're not supposed to be there. Get out. Okay, so she said, "Amen." Silence can be so loud, exactly, and silence is like an anchor. Silence is more so allowing a person to really think, well, what's going through her mind? Why haven't she said anything? I know she heard me talking about her. I know she heard that jab that I said about her. I know she saw those little subliminals I made and subliminals I said. I know that she, did this. And it's like, yeah, I did. I did. hmm I did. And then what? What I'm supposed to say? What I'm supposed to do? Hey, Sam, what I'm supposed to say and do? I'm supposed to make a, I'm supposed to respond to that? That's low hanging fruit. Why do I have to respond to someone being rude? Why do I have to respond to someone throwing jabs? Why do I have to respond to someone being, uncaring, unloving? You don't get a response from me. You don't get access to me. I am one of the most lovable people and caring and sacrificial people that I, outside of my mama, that I've ever met. I just have boundaries. And once I no longer, because I'm like an all in or all out person. Either I'm all in with you or I'm all out with you. I don't do lukewarm. You don't never got to think about, do Elvira like me as a friend, family member, whatever. You ain't got to think about that, because I'm going to let you know about how I treat you. So, and then I'm also very loving. I'm a very, very loving sister. I call my sisters, I call my brothers. I mean, more sisters have access to me than anybody. Than anybody. But back to the topic. Not everything deserves a reply. Just because someone may be talking about you, throwing jabs at you, slighting you, making you read between the lines, making content about you, talking about this, talking about that, slighting you in different conversations, you don't have to respond to that. It's low-hanging fruit. It leads nowhere. One thing I've learned is that I don't have expectations for people. I don't. Do I really think a person is going to be honest with me about how they feel? No. Do I really think if I address something to someone and I say, "Hey, I heard you say this. Were you talking to me?" Do I really expect them to say, "Yes, Elvira, I was talking to you. I was talking about you"? They're not going to say that. They're not going to say that. They're going to deflect. They're going to lie. They're going to dismiss. They're not going to say that. And once I learned that technique, I stopped having expectations for people, because once I sense something, or once I realize that, hey, this could be directed to me, that's all I need. If you send me a text message and I don't like what you're saying, I'm not going to respond. I'm not going to have something to say immediately. Yeah, I'm going to have something to say. I'm Elvira. Of course I got something to say. But you wouldn't know it. You don't know what I have to say. And that eats up people more than you saying what you want to say. That eats them up more knowing you are the type of person that always has something to say. And then when you don't say nothing, it's eating them up inside. They don't know which way to go. They at a crossroad. They don't know which way to go. And I love that type of stance. It's a power move. There you go, guys. It's a power move. It's a powerful move when you stop reacting to every little thing people do to you. Start to learn how to detach. Learn how to detach from people, places, and things that aren't giving you the same thing that you're giving them. Don't get too close to anybody. Our head pastor, our general overseer, teaches us that all the time. Don't get close to no one. You could be kind, you could be lovable, but don't be. The reason why I believe we are instructed not to get close to anyone, so that way you don't get surprised when who they really are comes to the forefront. Okay. So there are things that I've seen throughout life, not just in holiness, but just throughout life. And it's just like, I don't get, I don't get close to nobody, and I don't let nobody spray me with my own tea. Hey, girl, I don't let no one spray me with my own tea. What does that mean, Elvira? Nothing that you could ever throw in my face is not something that I have spoken on myself. So there was a situation where people will say things, people will try to find anything to kind of pick at you to get a reaction out of you. So when you learn how to detach, when you learn that not everything deserves a reply, when you learn that it's best to just not say anything to the person, you can let them know, like, I see you. Sometimes that response to me it could be a one word, it could be a one sentence, it could be a one liner, whatever you want. But you don't have to respond or react in a way that you're going to regret down the line. Sometimes not responding allows your emotional intelligence to kind of click in a little faster, to the point that you realize that, okay, I don't really, sometimes it just is simply me. I don't even know what this person is talking about. So I don't even know why they coming at me this way. So I'm not even going to say nothing. Or you could say, like, I don't even know why we're having this conversation, or what made them say that. Oh, well, what they said isn't true, so they can't be talking about me. That's not even true. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to say nothing, because until someone brings something to my front doorstep, I'm going to leave it as it be. So realizing that not everything deserves a reply. And even if you do have to reply, you can reply with a one-liner. Whatever that may be. Yes, no, noted, okay, not sure, no worries. The list can go on and on. You're right. Oh, yeah, tell them they're right. Be like, you know what? You're right. and go on about go on to the next thing. You're right. No worries. No, that's not going to work for me. I'm not available. No, as Sister Paulette would say, no. Hey, Jonah, as Sister Paulette would say, a hard no. I told y'all I struggle with that. I like to do soft no's. No, you need to do a hard no. All right. So once you realize that not everything deserves a response, when you take accountability, I know that sometimes I'm more of a noted. Yes, Inga said noted is my favorite response. Yes. Um stand on it. Exactly. Exactly. So when I've realized that not everything deserves a response, and I've also learned, guys, that I struggle with when I get super close to people, I do let them into my world. And when I bring people into my world, I'm talking about my emotional world. And for some people, they can find themselves drowning in that world because my emotions are so rapid and so intense. It's like a wave that can overpower you if you're not rooted, right? So sometimes when I get close to people, I bring them into that emotional world, and because I'm used to the waves, because I'm used to the motions and the frequency of the water, I don't realize, and I'm learning that type of endurance that I have in my emotional self, others do not have that. And I cannot expect them to have that because they are not me. So not sometimes, I am learning how to scale back from bringing so much of my emotional self to the forefront because it's deep waters in my emotions. So now I have to learn how to tone it down, have emotional intelligence. Do that need a response from me? Nah, that don't need a response from me. Maybe, and sometimes I cause it on myself. Okay, sometimes it's me who causes these friction or confusion or all of it. Sometimes it's me. Sometimes it is me. I can own that. Sometimes it's me not being balanced. Sometimes it's me being a little bit too chatty and talking too much and not realizing that, Elvira, you're used to your emotions. Others are not. So sometimes when you share a little bit too much, you you make others sway this way or that way, and one thing we I noticed too is that when you are a person where your energy can set a tone, you gotta be mindful of your energy all the time, because when your energy doesn't set the right tone, I low-key take responsibility for that. I do. I can't control other people, but I do take accountability for sometimes when my attitude is not balanced and grounded, because I know that I set the tone. Just like I set the tone for my home. It's me and my son, but because I am the only adult here, I set the tone. So if my attitude or my energy is at zero, what do you think the tone of the household is going to be at? I set the temperature. So noticing that about yourself, if you are a person who naturally sets the temperature of the room, it could be draining sometimes, which is why most of the time you might need to spend a lot of time alone. You might need to have your bubble baths. You might need to be in solitude. You might need to have no phone, no nothing, and just be with yourself. You might need those moments to kind of go inward to recharge your battery, because when you start your day the next day, you are the one who sets the tone. So you always have to make sure that your temperament is at the right pace and on time for the environment that you are going to be in. So that's where we go into reclaiming your power. You don't lose value when you walk away, you honor it. So when you are in an environment that is not serving you, that you feel like, okay, the energy here or the tone here is overpowering me, so maybe it's not meant for me to be here. Maybe I need to go ahead and move on. Maybe I just need to be quiet. Maybe I need to go on to the next thing and leave it there and not, try to have too much going on for myself in that way. So, sometimes we have to think about that. Sometimes we need to be mindful of those things, and reclaiming your power is not about inflicting pain onto other people. It's about taking accountability for yourself and actually valuing yourself enough to know that, you know what, I don't like it here, and I don't have to be here if I don't like it here. And I can leave any moment I want to. I don't have to stay here and be mistreated and have someone waste my time and be rude. And, you know, I don't have to take this. And when you realize your value for you, how do you value yourself? You understand that you start to appreciate the people that appreciate you. You start to realize that, you know what, this relationship with this friend is a two-way street. It's not always about me calling her, and it's not always about her calling me. It's about us being there for each other. It's about me checking in with her to see if she's having a good day. It's about her checking in with me to make sure that I'm good. And that's where I'm able to sit and assess and be like, okay, this is a reciprocal relationship with a sister that I can relate to, with a friend that I can relate to. And that, God, is something I can do. But what about when you go into situations with people who don't reciprocate your energy or your time? When you make arrangements to make an accommodation for someone and then they cancel on you at the last minute? What about when you are a person who, you went out of your way, and the next thing you know, the person say, oh, never mind, I figured it out. Well, excuse me? Do you not know that I did this and I did that and I was going to do this and I did that, and now you're just like, yeah, I don't need that anymore. What? To me, that's when you have to, those things like that are going to happen. And that's when you have to realize your value. And then that's when you need to up the ante on your boundaries. And then you have to realize, like, you know what? You got me this time, but next time, absolutely not. And it makes it hard for people that come into your life later, because then the new people have to deal with the boundaries that were set because someone in the past did this. So now you set this boundary, and now the new person like, well, dang, I ain't never did nothing to you. Why I gotta go through the hoops and hurdles? Oh, because yeah, somebody did this and I ain't learned my lesson, so I have to set this boundary to make sure that you are worthy enough to get through the gate. Can you get through the gate? What's the password? Nah, that ain't the password today. We change it every 24 hours. What's the password? Can you get through the gate? That's what I need to know. I don't know. Let me see what Philippians 2:4 says. I'm not going to read it, but I can see what it says, and I can speak on it. So I want you to learn from your little big sis. There you go. That's a really good scripture. Thank you, Jonah, For all of you that can see, he said Philippians 2 and 4. That is a really, really good verse. That's a very good Bible verse. And that is exactly what we're talking about. You have to not just consider yourself, but you got to consider the others. But then also you have to put boundaries up too, guys. You know, I lack in that. I do. That's why I'm sharing these things with you all, especially for my little sisters that watch my channel, that are in their teenage years, their 20s. Set your boundaries now. You're valuable. Even when you're in your 30, you're valuable. But the point is that set it now. So that way, when you're my age, you're not 34 years old trying to learn how to value yourself. No one taught me how to value Elvira, which is why I became a people pleaser. And it is any demonic spirit is a demonic spirit, but it is one of the spirits that I need to pray and fast to get out of every single day. Because having the people pleasing spirit can kill you. Because you're so concerned about everybody else and being there for everyone else and showing up for everyone else, and then you keep knocking yourself off. You keep knocking yourself off because you're too busy trying to be there for everybody else, and you're trying to make everyone happy. And that doesn't work. That doesn't work. And no matter, it's like being a people pleaser. It was one things that I learned when I got into my walk with God that I suffered from. Because when I started to give my life to Christ, I started to realize there were so many people around me that did not respect me. They talked to me crazy. They didn't value my time. They wanted to, every time they called me, they expected me to stop what I was doing to talk to them. And that to me is not something that, gosh, what about now? Okay. People so annoying. Thank you guys. Thank you, Lord. Um, so once after I had my son, I started to realize that people did not respect my time. I was giving it away to anybody. I was allowing so many people to have access to me. And when I learned that not everyone deserves access to me, not everyone deserves a response to me. And he's 5 now. He'll be 6 this year. So it's still a learning curve for me, realizing and valuing myself and stop spreading myself so thin. When it comes to my family does not call me about their problems. But on my mom's side of the family, I am that cousin in my generation that everybody gets along with. So with everybody getting along with me, sometimes the older generation is always coming to me and saying, Evie, we need you to do this. Evie, we need you to do that. And sometimes it could get overwhelming, but it's not something I have to deal with every day. So it becomes, it's not that bad. But for the most part, I want to just share that with the sisters. Like, please value yourself and don't devalue yourself to minimize yourself. Let me see. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that the audio really did sound okay. But so yeah, so reclaim your power is basically finding value within yourself and ensuring that you are putting yourself first. You come first. You have to be overflowing in order to give from your cup. Your cup can't be halfway full. It can't be full. It has to be overflowing, because when you're overflowing, then you have extra to give. If you're just full, then you're going to be depleting when you give. So make sure that you are overflowing with whatever it is that you need. So that way, when you give it away, you're not left with deficiency. Because sometimes people will constantly come to us to get what they need, and then instead of them doing the work, they want to keep coming to you to get what you got. They want to get the light from you. That was what the brother Seek Holiness was talking about on his channel the other day. How people want to take from you. People see the light in you. People want to be around you and take from you, but they don't want to do the work themselves to get closer to God. They see you being close to God, so then they come to you and drain all your little energy vampires, and then they go back into the world and they do what they want to do. And then guess what you got to do? Now you got to go spend time in prayer more. You got to go fast more. You got to go read more to replenish your cup. And then next thing they do, they come back the next day and do it again. So every time you filling up your cup, you giving some away, and all they do is come back the next day and get what you got filled up with yesterday. Not me. So anyway, not me, but it's a work in progress, because I say that, but I'm not living in that. So it's not me being hypocritical, but it is something that I'm working on, where I'm learning that I have to protect my energy. I have to protect, what it is that I'm giving out. And honestly, guys, I went through a situation and I was like, this person is a demon. I could look them dead in their eyes and was like, they a demon. And they don't even know it. That's scary. But you got to be mindful of the people you surround yourself with. Sister Life of Paulette said, I call them bloodsuckers, the vacuums, the takers. Yes, they take. They see you filled up and then they come get them a cup. Now you got to fill up again. So the next thing is alignment over approval. When you know what God has called you to, entertaining what distracts you is too costly. So the best way to say this is, don't stress over something or someone that's a stumbling block. Don't stress over someone that's a stumbling block. If a person that you know is going to be a stumbling block for you, leave them be. You worth more than that. Your soul is much more than that. And when you entertain things that you don't need to be entertaining, it can get a little cloudy. That's all I can say. It can get a little cloudy. So you have to go back to realignment. Now, one thing I always want to stress, and I do this with myself, I try my hardest not to play with God. I try my hardest to, and when I say I try my hardest not to play with God, we all know we shouldn't play with God. But sometimes we all sin knowing we about to sin, go into the sin, drive into the sin, sitting in the sin, doing whatever the sin is that you be doing, you know it, and that's playing with God. So I try my hardest not to play with him, but as we see through scripture, they was playing with him until he get fed up and he cut him off. I try not to be that person. Many of us can read scripture and say, oh my God, why would they do that? You are that. You are exactly what they do. When they keep complaining because they wasn't getting where they wanted to go fast enough. When they kept trying to go back to who they were, what they were doing. When he gave them all of these things and then they still went out and did what they wanted to do. When he made them kings and they abused their power. When he saved them and it wasn't enough. That's how I feel. That's why I try not to play with God. His mercy is not to be played with. You might not get saved next time. The next time you lie down with sin, you might not get back up. And that's how I feel. And I be feeling like sometimes I be playing. I be playing. So you got to get in alignment. You got to get back into your values. And it's a beautiful feeling when you get out of alignment and he's waiting for you. But I never want to know what it feels like to get out of alignment and try to get back in alignment and he's not there. That's scary. So alignment is, going back to who God called you to be. And as it was said earlier, standing on that, valuing that and being that. That's where alignment is. But I remember Sal said, what's your advice? And I didn't read it. Oh, okay. So Sal said, what advice would you give someone who struggles with low self-esteem and self-worth and self-confidence and self-respect and self-confidence? You got to get delusional. You know the phrase, fake it till you make it? You got to fake it till you make it. You have to believe in you. Be the best version of yourself. Lock in. This is what you would do. If I had to, and I might take this upon myself, if I had to shift my energy because I feel I may have, if I was, you said, someone who struggles with low self-esteem, self-worth, self-respect, and self-confidence, the last 6 months of this year, I'm locked in. I'm locked in. No social media, no YouTube, unless I'm watching a sermon, eating healthy, working out, going for a run, going for a jog, only talking to high vibrational people that means me well, only going places that are going to uplift me, only being around people that elevate my mind, only doing things that's going to put money in my pockets, only going places that's going to make me feel like I am in a good state of mind, being sober, getting my working out those dopamines, getting healthy dopamines, drinking my smoothies, drinking my water. You want to know why? Because it's hard to have low self-esteem when you on your stuff. It's hard to have low self-esteem when you working out. I ain't never went to the gym and got on the treadmill and got off and felt like I looked like a bag of potato chips. Ain't never happened. I've never went to the gym and regretted going to the gym. It never happened. I never felt bad about not being on social media, knowing that when I look through my eyes and I see other people, other women living the life that I probably once wanted or is looking like my old self, that's where the depression comes. That's where the low self-esteem comes. When I go on social media and I see her wearing their makeup, their wigs, their lashes, they doing all of that. They on the trips. They got everything. They got the bags. They got all of that stuff. That's when the depression falls in. Me thinking I'm not doing enough. Me thinking I'm not pretty enough without makeup. Me thinking I gotta show a little skin to get a little piece of him. Me thinking that I need this big old luxury apartment, making think I need this big old luxury car to feel like somebody. To end the next 6 months, I would lock in. I would lock in. Every time a person felt like I don't feel like I look my best, go to the gym. Go to the gym. Go walk on the treadmill. Go outside. Go walk outside. Tell your body and your mind that you are worthy. And don't believe anything else. For real. I'm so serious. I would do all of those things. Yep. I'll drink my water, get off social media. If you want to use if I did get on YouTube, it would only be to watch content that's going to uplift me. And I journal, but not everybody is into journaling. I would find something else to do to kind of talk to God. I'll be praying. And trust me, the first 2 weeks is not going to be fun. The first month is not going to be fun. You know when you're going to really start to feel it? Once you're in the second and third month. The first month, you're going to feel like you're wasting your time because you still feel yucky. You still feel like this is not working. Oh, it's working. You're going through a detox. Because what's up in here, what you see, what you feel, what you think in your mind, you think that's the way, and that's what's clouding your judgment. You can't see clearly. You can't, and I'm not talking about Sal, but I'm just saying the person can't see clearly because you're on Facebook. I deleted my Facebook. You want to know why? Because what am I on here for? What are y'all talking about? What? I feel that way about Instagram too. I be on there watching reels, and then I'm like, I laugh, but then I'm like, dang, like, did I just take my spiritual meter down a couple of inches because I was laughing at that? So that's what I would do, Sal. If the advice I would give someone who struggles with low self-esteem, self-worth, and self-respect and self-confidence, I would tell them the last 6 months of this year, lock in. Lock in. Get in the best shape you've ever been in. Read either a scripture a day or a chapter a day. Drink as much water as you need. Eat healthy. Only be around high vibrational people. Find a way to get some money. And lock in. Be there for your kids if you got kids. If you don't have kids, that's even better. You have nothing stopping you from locking in. And just lock in. That's what I would say. Just lock in. And then you said, Sister EFP, one thing I learned from my experience is that you want to have the mindset that you have a lot of value to offer instead of what I can get from other people. Absolutely, Sal. That is a very great mindset. That is a really good mindset. It's a mindset of being of service to others. And sometimes, I ain't gonna hold y'all, sometimes that being of service to others mindset can kind of feel like, darn, like when somebody gonna help me? But then I gotta realize, like, you gotta do the work of the Lord, and you gotta be consistent, and you gotta, meet God somewhere. So that's what I would say, Sal. You said stay away from the peanut gallery and the negative Nancy's too. Absolutely, Life with Paulette, yes. When you trying to lock in and you want to be the best version of yourself, and you don't want no one to, you just want to lock in, stay away from the peanut gallery. Stay away from the negative Nancy's. That's what Life with Paulette said. And the negative Nancy's, clock this. The negative Nancy's don't always appear how negative Nancy's are portrayed. If you ever take an idea to someone, if you ever take a situation to a person, you even take a inkling of, I want to change. Matter of fact, here we go. If you talk to somebody and you tell them you want to change your life, if you talk to somebody and you say, you know what, these next 6 months, I'm going to lock in. I'm not eating no sugar. I'm going to the gym. I'm going to get my 10K steps. That's, now, I ain't going to hold y'all. Locking in on 6 months, doing all of that, that's a little overzealous, okay? But what I'm saying is you get the point. If you even put your mind that this is something that you want to do, just do as much as you can to get there. But if you even take that to someone and you say, hey, I want to change my life, I'm going to do the 75 hard challenge and I'm going to change my life in 75 days. I'm going to change my fitness. I'm going to do this in 75 days. And immediately that person come back to you and ask you anything that's not positive, cut them off. They don't want you to do better. They want you to stay overweight. They want you to be broke. They want you to be miserable because they miserable. If you say, I'm about to go to the gym and they say, oh, I can't do that, get them out your life. Because I ain't say nothing about you going to the gym. I said, I'm going to the gym. Why are you telling me you not going when I didn't invite you to go? I'm going to the gym. Cut them off. That's negative Nancy. That's the way negative Nancy's show up in your life, where they're not necessarily showing up like a negative Nancy per se. They're just like what is it called? What is it called? I can't think of it. It starts with a P. I can't think of it. Projecting. They're projecting their experiences onto you. That is a negative Nancy, and you got to let them go too. So you got to create boundaries, because when you decide to change your life and get on the good book, there are going to be people out there that's not going to want you to do that. They want you to stay where you are, because where you are helps them remain comfortable. When you want more, the people that don't want more and they want to stay where they're at, they're going to have an issue with you wanting more. And the reason why is because you wanting more for yourself is low-key calling them out for being complacent. That's why you might see that when you want more for yourself, you can't be around a lot of people, because a lot of people don't really care. They're good with where they're at in life. So when you want more, like Life of Paulette said, stay away from the peanut gallery and the negative Nancy's. So whatever you want, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling low energy, low self-esteem, lock in on one thing. That's what I'll say. Lock in on one thing. If it's drinking water, hitting 10K, reading a chapter of the Bible every day, lock in on one thing and just execute that one thing and just stay there and see what happens. See what happens when you do that. And the last thing is what we just talked about. So thank you, Sal, because you glided us right into the last point of this video, is shifting the atmosphere. Shifting your atmosphere. So while you can cry and pout, everything has its place and its season. Once that is over, now it's time to shift the atmosphere. Now it's time to put in the work. Now it's time to get up and grind. Now it's time to find a solution. It's not that you can't sit in a certain circumstance for too long. You could be there, but don't be there too long. You got to get up and now you got to make moves. You got to be action. You got to put work together. You got to figure out a way, So I'm learning that dignity is in the pause. And when I'm able to just pause my surroundings analyze what's happening around me, and then move, I'm moving with more intention than I would have been doing if I didn't. You know, I'm here to bring more peace into my life and less confusion. And if anybody comes into your life giving you confusion, give them the boots and get on about your life. You don't owe them no dissertation. You say bye. And sometimes you don't even have to say that. Inga in Life of Paulette said they love to put a noted on there and you keep it moving. Bye. And you go lock in. You know, today I spent maybe 2 hours with the Lord. I was sitting there watching the sermon. I was taking my notes and I felt fed. I prayed. I'm about to pray again when I get off of here with y'all. I'm going to pray again. Then we're going to gonna finish up our work day. Then we're going to go make some money. He going to go to practice. I got an appointment. Then we got church. And then we're going to do Friday is a whole nother day in itself. And I love my schedule. I love my life. And I love the peace that comes with it. I don't have to depend on nobody. I don't got to wait on broken promises. I don't have to feel uncomfortable for being the way God created me to be. I don't have to shrink myself to be around other people. That's another thing. Don't shrink yourself to be around nobody. You know, one thing about it, when I was younger, I've always been tall my whole life. And I used to kind of try to shrink myself to be around the other girls because I was taller than the other girls, still taller than most of the girls. But now I'm noticing there's a lot of tall girls out here. Hey, girls. But I used to try to shrink myself when I was in like elementary school and middle school, and my parents did not play that. They said, don't shrink yourself. They said, don't hunch your shoulders over like this. Don't do that. My parents, especially my dad, like he taught me, no, you're tall, you're beautiful, you can't change that, own it. And it took me a while to gain the confidence of being a tall girl. Because, you know, when you're in grade school, you're taller than most of the boys. The boys didn't get their growth spurt till they got like 9th, 10th grade sometimes. So you in middle school, because most of the girls, you know, when we get to middle school or 9th grade, that's your height. That's your height for the rest of your life. Boys, on the other hand, once they get like in high school, they go through a growth spurt, or maybe like their late teens, they go through a growth spurt and they just pass us right on by. But when I was younger, I was taller than most of the girls, taller than most of the boys. And my parents taught me, don't shrink yourself. You're tall, own it. My dad even shared with me, hey, just because you're tall don't mean you can't wear heels. Put you on a pair of heels. I was like, no, you know, I'm tall. Put you on some heels. And now at 5'11", I wear my heels and people are like, what you need heels for? You already tall. Well, it's not for that. It's for an aesthetic. They were cute and I wanted them, so I bought them. But I shared that to say, don't shrink yourself. You know, own who you are. Own your ambition. Own your silence, your discipline, how you communicate. You know, like I said, I know that I am a person, I have a wave, a fluctuation of emotions. I know that when I bring people into my emotional world, they can drown in my emotion. I am aware of that. And now that I'm aware of that, I now have to realize I can't bring everyone into these deep waters with me because some of them cannot swim and some of them don't need to be out here. And it's not about them, it's about me. I'm bringing everybody into my deep waters, and that's so unfair. That's selfish of me. Because now I can't be mad when a person reacts a certain way. You brought them into the deep waters. Why'd you bring them all the way out here? So you have to analyze yourself and realize, is this worth me responding to? Is this worth me acknowledging? Do I really expect this person to tell me the truth? And am I silent enough to let people share what they want to share and listen, be supportive, be a supportive friend, a supportive partner, wife, husband, whatever, mom? Woo, that's a topic within itself. Parenting these kids and cutting them off, not letting them finish, telling them what they need to do, being impatient with our babies. I struggle with that. When they're 5 and they're trying to say a complete sentence and they start stuttering and you standing there like, get it out, and you can't say that. But those are moments of parenthood that I'm like, you need to check yourself. Patience. Listen to him. Don't cut him off. I've done that. He'll come to me and he want to tell me something and I'll say, go pick up your book bag while he's sharing something to me. That is rude. Let him finish expressing himself, Elvira. And when he's done, then you say, well, thank you for sharing that. Can you go pick up your book bag? And I have to check myself with that, because that's unfair to the kid. Don't be rude to the kid, And that's me being honest. See, that's honesty. I'm able to see and be like, you know what? Don't treat him like that. Just because he's 5, you ain't got to talk to him like that. And it's a hard pill to swallow. I know. But it can be done. It has been done. It will be done. It shall be done. All right. So that's all I got for y'all. I ain't got no more. I hope y'all enjoyed this conversation. I sure did. The topic of this video is, holding the line for self-worth. Everything, it kind of didn't flow the way I wanted it to, but it flowed just enough where you guys were able to ride the waves. Also note that I am always a work in progress. I don't know who that is. I'm gonna do a skit. You know how people come in the chat and then they get all close to the phone and they be like, okay. Oh, you be reading the comment like King Bill said, hi, little head. And I don't know who that is. Hey, King Bill. Hey, I don't even know who you are. Tell me something, hey, little head. Who is that, y'all? But the conversation today was holding the line on self-worth, knowing that you are valuable. And don't get mad at people that come into your life that test you on your values. That is supposed to happen. And the reason why is to kind of see if you're really where you need to go spiritually to get to the next level. And sometimes when I am being tested in my values, sometimes I don't hold the line. Sometimes I crumble, and sometimes that's not a good thing. So just be mindful of that, and think about ways. Do a journal entry. Ask yourself, Lord, what areas of my life am I lacking in boundaries, and see what comes of it. See what comes of it. So to all of you, thank you so much for being here. Any closing remarks? Anyone like to say anything? I am here. We can chat a little bit. We can chat a little bit before I go. We got a busy day today. We do. So I thank you all for being here. Thank you so much. Share this conversation with your friends. We talked about conversation, talking, addressing things, not addressing things, and just being spiritually minded and grounded in all that you say and do. I know that, like I said, I'm always a work in progress. I'm not perfect. Please don't think that I'm trying to be. Please don't put me on a pedestal. Please don't think I'm more than what I am. Like that lady said, and Paulette be quoting it a lot, I'm just dust in a dress or a skirt, whatever you want to call it. I'm just a piece of dust. So please don't put me over anything more than what I am. I make mistakes. You hear me? I make mistakes. I be wrong sometimes. I'm not right all the time. I'm wrong sometimes. Sometimes I be loud and wrong. Sometimes. So with that, be gentle with me, okay? Show me love, and as always, pray for me as I will do for you all. Thank you all for liking the video. Please share, and I will see you all on the next one. Bye.